The most common question I hear in Jiu-Jitsu: how do you make it to black belt? How do you do it? Guys, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of top-level martial arts in downtown beautiful, my words aren't working, in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer and Tony Rinaldi. You're watching Professor's Corner. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you like some of the new content that's been coming. It's just little things here and there. I have some students that like to do TikTok videos and stuff, and so I said, hey, throw it on the channel. I'm happy to have it. So I wrote a post today on Facebook, and I know that like you're probably like, okay, boomer, especially if you're under the age of 40, but and it was about this very subject, like what do you need to do to really get to black belt? So I wrote down 10 things, and to be honest with you, they aren't in any particular order. It was just kind of off the top of my head, and I'm sure that if I sat there, I could come up with 100 things. But I wanted to get more different than just the know these moves, be able to beat this person, that kind of stuff that honestly is less important. And I tried to get kind of somewhat to the crux of what is a black belt, as well as some of the maybe more top-level martial arts oriented things that are required. So I wanted to share this with you guys, and maybe some of it works for you. If you're not a member of my academy, some of it might be like you might be like, well, Bill, I'm not going to get to your class because I live in Toledo, Ohio, or I live in Kentucky or wherever, and then that's fine. But all right, let's just start with number one that I wrote. So for this one, and I'm kind of reading the post at the same time, so if I'm not staring at the camera the entire time, that's why. But the first one is stop giving up. And here's what I mean by that. Obviously, I want you to tap, right? So I think when people hear "don't give up," what they immediately think is don't tap, fight out of positions, and then to some degree there is that, right? I do expect to see you trying to get out of positions, trying moves, but if you're in a bad spot, great. But what I really mean is when I see someone taking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months off at a time, you're giving up. And I'm not talking about maybe you have a loved one that you're taking care of. Maybe you have a job that takes you away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Maybe you have an injury that you're carrying. That isn't what I'm talking about. Like, obviously life events happen. You have a baby, you buy a house, you gotta get the house ready. But like like I guess what I'm saying is, like, I see people, they'll come and they'll be like all about it for like 5, 6, 7 weeks, and then they'll take like 4 weeks off, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I went to the gym and I was getting into the gym, and it's like all I see from you at that point is a person who can't be consistent with what they do, and that's a dangerous thing. Okay, so I'm not going to promote someone like that. I'm not going to give you a black belt. You're a quitter, and black belts don't quit. Black belts don't give up on things. They find ways through. They find ways over. They find ways around, and like, if you come for 6 weeks and then don't show up for 3-4 months, or you're like doing that, like, you're just wasting your time, guys. You got to keep training. You have to figure it out. You have to find a way. Sit down, write down a schedule that works for you. Change it up every 6 or 8 weeks. If you're the kind of person, like for example, in the gym, I'm the kind of person, like, every 6 to 8 weeks I start getting real bored, and that makes me real unmotivated. So what I do to help me is I just write a different workout plan, and I do that workout plan for 4, 5, 6 weeks, right? Like, that's one of the tricks I have. So maybe you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 6 weeks, and then you do Tuesday, Thursday for 5 weeks, and then you take a week off to like deload and decompress, and then you need a week off here and there, no doubt. Maybe even 2 if you're a little older. Like, maybe you taper it down, almost like a training cycle, right? You taper down to like, okay, I've been going at it pretty hard for 2-3 months. Now I'm going to take this week, I'm only going to go once this week, and then the following week I'm not going to go at all, and then I'm going to hit it back again. That's a planned thing. That is the exact opposite of what I'm talking about. That's someone who can plan shit out and execute. That is a black belt. So that's what I mean, and stop giving up. That's number one. Number two, set a different goal. Black belt should not be the goal. The knowledge, skills, and abilities that our black belt represents is what you're really meaning to chase. And I know that that's probably what you mean when you say, how can I get a black belt? But it's important to understand that. Stop asking about the belt. Stop worrying about what rank you're wearing. I'm going to tell you something. If you make it to black belt and you keep training, you're going to wear a black belt longer than you wear any other belt in jiu-jitsu. Any other, save for maybe a coral belt, and that's assuming you get old enough to get there. You might not wear a coral belt as long just because you're old when you get it. So you need to chase the knowledge, chase the skills, chase the abilities. Go to seminars, go to watch videos. Think about jiu-jitsu when you're not at jiu-jitsu. Go to camps. Chase that information. Find people who do jiu-jitsu in a way that you like, that clicks with you. Maybe you're watching Marcelo Garcia videos and you're like, man, that guy, I can move like that guy. Or maybe you're watching Gabby Garcia videos and you're like, I can move like her. You've got to do research. You've got to look into it more than the one or two things that your instructor likes to do. This next one, it's a huge pet peeve with me. Everybody's tired, guys. Stop telling me you're tired. Everybody's tired, and sometimes, like, I remember having that conversation. Someone was like, oh, I was like, oh, I missed you the other day. And that's how I usually put it. Like, I'm not a jerk when I approach someone about where they've been. I'm like, oh, I missed you in class. It's great to see you. And they're like, yeah, I was really tired, and I'm like, yeah, everybody's tired, man. And they'll look at me, oh, no, but I did this and I did that. And it's like, that's a pretty narcissistic attitude if you think you are uniquely tired or uniquely more tired than anyone else. Like, anytime you think your struggles are uniquely worse than the person standing next to you, it's a pretty narcissistic way to be, and that's not going to be helpful to you in life, and that's not how a black belt is. There are people going through all kinds of struggles, doing all kinds of things, and yes, what made them tired might be different than what's making you tired. Maybe you worked a double and you work a job at a steel factory, and God, that's hard labor. And so you missed a few days and you're exhausted, and yeah, I get it, you're tired. But that's no different than the surgeon who's just did a 24-hour operation or a 22-hour operation on a person, right? Like, different type of work, different type of exhaustion, both tired. So just keep that in mind, guys. Everybody around you is tired. Humans walk around probably clinically exhausted most of the time. Don't let that stop you from doing things. Do the work, get it done. And it's hard. It's always going to be hard. It's always going to be a challenge. Very few of you are lucky enough to get paid to do this. I am blessed to be one of those people. And it's something I've only just taken seriously in that way. Like, I've been paid to do this for about 10 years, but like, at the same time, like, I was so busy building the business that I didn't focus enough on the jiu-jitsu. Just recently I've been able to do that. And myself, for that matter, my own health, which is the next thing I'm gonna talk about. No one's coming to save you. I don't wish it on anyone, but the loss of my parents early-ish in my life taught me that you are desperately alone in this world. And if you want to get something done, you are the only one who is going to be able to get it done. You might have some friends that can help you with a little bit of accountability. You might have some family members who help a little bit here and there. But in the end, most of your time, most of your motivation has to come from within. It comes from discipline. It comes from internal desire to just be better. You have to decide this is something you want to do, and you get better at it, which takes me to the next thing. Let me see here. There was something else I had written under that I want to get to. It's also under, you won't. Oh, no. Okay. So the number 5 is you don't always love it. When you start jiu-jitsu, it's easy to fall in love with, and it's just like anybody. But like, over time, you have to decide, this is something I want to get better at or not. And you have a few years to do that. That feeling of being in love with it lasts usually for, at first, like 5 months, and then you get like a little bored of it, and then it comes back. But like, usually within 2-3 years, the love for it transforms, because what you love is what it does for you, not the act of doing it every time. Although some people, that is always going to last. But if that's what it takes to get you in the door, I hate to tell you, it's gonna go away sometimes. You're not always going to love it. It's like your spouse, right? You're not always going to be happy to see that person. There's going to be times that you're angry with each other. There's going to be times that you're not getting along. There's going to be times that you just want to be alone. And but you have to decide, is this a person I want to spend my life with, right? Same thing when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Is this a thing that I want to be good at? And if the answer is yes, you're going to have to push through that. You're going to have to push through those plateaus, those times when it feels like you're just coming in to get your ass kicked and not getting anywhere. You have to push through those. And man, it's hard. It's hard. It's easy to train when you're doing well. It's hard to train when you're getting destroyed. Now, number 6, this kind of so those first couple are more like motivational, I guess, is my intent there, or just like take a look at yourself and see what you can do better. The next one is like, let me see you, and what does that mean? Like in my academy, we have many classes per week. We have about 30 classes a week that people can go to. I'm lucky enough to have several black belts here that teach, but in the end, I'm the head instructor. I'm the one who puts the belts on people, and it's real easy for someone to say, come to class every Tuesday, Thursday. They never see me, and then like, they're like, oh, how do I get a blue belt? And it's like, well, Bill's the one who has to promote you. Like every once in a while, you might want to go see him. It's sure you're going to have your regular schedule, and I'm not saying that you should change up your regular schedule, but every once in a while you should change your schedule a little to accommodate seeing your head instructor or whoever it is that's in charge of promoting you. Like, don't just assume that everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, here's a blue belt and throw it at you. Like, your head, that should come from the head instructor, and like make sure that you get in to see them and make it happen. It's not that hard to change your schedule every once in a while. And if your spouses or whatever aren't flexible with that, I don't know that they really respect you, right? Like every once in a while. Now, again, if you say, hey, next Wednesday I'm going to go train with Bill, is that okay? And they're like, you know what, next Wednesday is this. What about the following? Like figure it out, do a schedule, but then don't take advantage of that and say, okay, well, I'm going to do it every Wednesday now, unless you make that concession together. Make those decisions as a team, make them together, and you'll find that it's probably not that hard to every once in a while make changes. All right, number 7. You've probably heard me say this before, but ask questions. Ask questions. Pay attention in your roles when you're training with people. Pay attention to what's going on. Try not to get into the habit of rolling and then at the end of the roll not knowing anything that happened. You just moved and moved and moved, and you were just so lost in the sauce and so busy defending that you don't know what's going on. If that's happening, you need to slow your training down. If you're not able to recount every move, and it might take a few minutes, like when I'm still huffing and puffing a little bit, yeah, it's hard to remember everything, but as I start to recall, like boom, it all starts flooding back, and I can recall almost every moment of my entire roll. And you want to be that way too, so that you know what questions to ask, because it's the things that aren't working that you need to ask questions about, or the things that are, you need to be saying, hey, I keep hitting this. Am I doing something wrong? I mean, is this? No one's ever taught me this. Am I going down a wrong path here? And a lot of times your instructor will be like, no, man, that's great. That's a good detail. And if they're an honest person, a lot of times they didn't even know that detail. I've seen, like I tend to be the guy who's like, that's an interesting way of doing that. I'll try that. And I've seen some instructors who like pretend that they knew it, and it's like, come on, man, don't be that guy. All right, mix up your training. You need and require a healthy mix of rolling and class instruction. Some schools, and this is going to depend on where you are, my schools are generally set up so that you have open mat times and you have class times. And in my classes, there's a little bit of rolling, but not a lot. What's that allow for? It allows for getting in and out quickly, because the places I've been that do the rolling during class tend to be like 1.5 hour, 2-hour classes, and for some people that's not a possibility. But you still need to be doing both. If you're not going to learning sessions and seeing new techniques, and again, it depends on your skill level and what you're working on. Maybe you're working on something specific and you spend 4 weeks, 5 weeks just rolling because you have something you're working on. You don't want new information coming in and confusing it. No problem. That's a real thing. That's a type of learning as well. But at the same time, you need to eventually get new information in there and different information, if for no other reason than to know it exists. I remember and I've lost a couple times at tournaments on moves that like either people told me someone would never do, so we never trained it, or I didn't even know existed. And it's like, damn, you hate getting hit with a move you didn't even know exist. That's that shouldn't happen. And that's just because you're not coming to classes, seeing what's possible. So make sure you're getting to classes, and then also make sure you're, every once in a while switching up your schedule so that you can do some rolling. Both of those are required. And just because you're rolling doesn't mean it has to be balls to the wall. I know that when you turn on B Team and when you turn on, you turn on John Donaher, you see all the clips, and these guys are going balls to the wall, just killing each other. Guys, that's not training for everybody. That's not what most people should be doing. Those are athletes who train like athletes, eat like athletes, work out like athletes, doing athlete shit. That's like thinking that football players play full football games every day. They do not. They spend most of their time drilling, like how to step, drilling, watching video, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like that doesn't even go through your mind probably. But most of your training should be actually pretty low key, with just a small percentage of it, 10%, 20% maybe, being actual hard rolls. And the older you get, the less that is, just because your body can't take it anymore. That's the other half, is like a lot of times, you're 35, 36, 40, 50 years old starting jiu-jitsu. Nothing wrong with that. You can do it, but like, don't expect yourself to move and react and do the things that you see 20-year-olds doing. All right, next one. Be present and working hard. One of the biggest mistakes I see, and it's, I don't even want to say it's a mistake, but I'm going to, because I see people come to class and you have camaraderie, you have friends here, and that's phenomenal. You need that. That helps get you through those hard times. But at the same time, like when an instructor's teaching, when you're supposed to be drilling, be learning, be present. If they're teaching and then you like come back and you haven't even been paying attention to anything, what are you even doing? Like, that's frustrating for the instructor, because now he has to reteach you the move. And instead of, giving you tips on how to make it better, he has to just show you the highlights again. And that's a pain in the butt. So make sure you're present and paying attention to things. And then not like just talking over instructors or other people training. And that's the other half, is when you're not present, it's easy to laugh it off and be like, oh man, I completely wasn't paying attention. Well, now the person training with you is fucked, right? Like, you screwed their time too. Keep that in mind. It's not just about you. It goes back to being narcissistic. All right. And then number 10, work out outside of jiu-jitsu. Some jiu-jitsu schools run their academy like a CrossFit. You're doing all this running and all this kind of stuff in classes, and you're doing workouts and all that, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. I don't think that's what most people pay for. But with that said, strength training. And guys, not to appeal to authority, but I'm going to a little bit. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I have a degree in exercise physiology. The biggest thing that people miss for jiu-jitsu is actual strength training. I'm not talking about swinging a kettlebell around. That's not strength training. To get stronger, you need progression. You need regularity. You need to monitor your numbers. And swinging a 50-pound kettlebell around all the time, you're not progressing in any kind of way. Okay? You need to build strength. Why? It's going to build resilience in your joints. Specifically, it's going to make your tendons and obviously your muscles stronger. And it's going to also help increase bone density. And those are big issues. The biggest things I see are problems where people tear muscles, tear tendons. And this is assuming we're not talking about, like, because you can't really make ligaments that much stronger per se. They're not well perfused. But, the pressure is put on those joints when you're strength training in a safe way will result in more resiliency throughout the joint. That's important. And then the bone density. I mean, you're falling, you're running into each other, you're laying on each other. Those things put pressure on your bones in weird ways, and it's real easy to end up with stress fractures and weird, like, twisting injuries where you pull a muscle because you were twisting oddly. Like, just strength training, and I'm not saying you have to get jacked by not by any stretch of the imagination. No one accidentally becomes Arnold Schwarzenegger. It just doesn't happen. You have to train and eat specifically to do that. So don't be afraid. Oh, if I strength train, I'm going to get big muscles. Probably not. But strength training is the number one thing that you could be doing. And look, 2 days a week, a whole body routine, 45 minutes in and out, you're done. That's all you need. And I know that that sounds like a lot, especially if you're already thinking, well, but I train jiu-jitsu 4 days a week and I do this. I get it. I get it. Go back to the part where I don't want to hear about how tired you are. Those are the things that are going to get you to black belt. Now, if I find out you're not strength training, am I going to not promote you? No, absolutely not. That's not what I'm here for. But what I'm saying is these are the things that are going to get you to black belt and keep you at black belt. I've now been a black belt longer than I was any other rank, longer than I wasn't a black belt. And what keeps me there are things like what I'm talking about right now. It's what's going to make you better at most things. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave them below. I'll talk to you later.